Hey, what's up, reefers? Today, let's talk about one of my favorite corals, the Purple Brush Gorgonian. And that's this guy right here on the left-hand side. On the left-hand side, you see two colony of Gorgonians. Up front, I have the Purple Brush. And back here is also a Purple Gorgonian, but I am actually not sure what type it is. Regardless, the information that I kind of want to share today is going to be applicable to most photosynthetic Gorgonians. So obviously Gorgonian is a type of corals, and a lot of them actually recommended for a beginner tank. Now the difficulty is determining whether the Gorgonian that you're adding is photosynthetic or is it a purely filter feeder. Now one way that I was taught to identify between the two is that the photosynthetic ones generally have like a brown polyp versus the filter feeder, where it does not take energy from the light, usually has a white polyps. Now there are exceptions to the case, and even with brown polyp like this one I have, it can also still capture food from the water column, whether it's like zooplankton or phytoplankton. If you feed if the size of the food that you're feeding is small enough, the polyp is capable of capturing it, and it can be used as supplemental energy. So, in my memory, pretty much every single reef tank that I have a small colony of purple Gorgonian in there, and I don't like to get them too big. I like to get them about this size or smaller and just have them grow into place, so the grow pattern is more fitting to the environment of the tank that I have them in. And once they're established, they actually grow really fast. But before I talk about that, let's talk about like general preferences for the Purple Brush Gorgonian. So they have really tolerance. That's why they're recommended as a great beginner coral. They can handle low flow, medium flow to high flow. And in my experience with these guys, they tend to prefer medium flow, medium or maybe slightly towards the lower ones. But it cannot be so low that algae is able to settle and grow on the skin of the Purple Gorgonian. Because once algae take over a Gorgonian, it's pretty much game over for it. So the water flow has to be strong enough that algae is not able to grow. Now in the cases where algae does grow a little bit on the skin, it's okay. I mean, Gorgonia has a natural defense where they kind of shed the outer mucus layer when it's overgrown with algae. But of course, you do not want to get to that point. Now, like I mentioned, the Gorgonian with brown polyp typically is photosynthetic, and as a result, they do like light. Now, they can tolerate a pretty good range of light, but I find that they prefer medium to high light the best. And if you want to put them under full blast highlights, make sure you acclimate them slowly as well. With this colony, I kind of got them in the beginning of this tank. So I was acclimating everything in my tank to the radion lights. So it was a gradual ramp up. With the guy in the back, I picked him up after the tank has been established. So I kind of started him out under the shade first for a couple of days and then slowly moved him out. And it did not react to the stronger light, so I assumed that the light he was under was a lot stronger, or like about the same strength as what I have right now. So I put him permanently behind my purple brush. Now again, like I mentioned, I'm not sure what type of Gorgonian it is that is behind my Purple Brush Gorgonian. So if you know, it would be awesome if you can let me know as well. And when I'm feeding my tank with finer foods like cyclopses, phytoplankton and stuff like that, or reef chili, or there's a coral frenzy or something, but basically I tried different types of like filter feeder food. I made sure to squirt some lightly upstream from the Gorgonian, and we'll let the water current to kind of carry the food into the waiting polyps. So as you can see right now, the Gorgonian has a really tiny movement, tiny water movement. I would much prefer to have it sway a little bit more, but at the same time, the recordia on the right hand side is being blown apart from the from the gyri. So I kind of try to find like a happy medium, and since the Gorgonian tolerates lower water movements, I kind of just kept it here. But in the future, I may move the Ricodius simply so that I can crank up the water current a little bit more, so I get a nice little wave motion. And in the wild, the Purple Brush Gorgonian, they actually get huge, but not so much in our home aquarium, probably because like we frag them or there's not enough food. But in nature, you see them in like high, like quick currents, fast current zone, where they'll sway back and forth. So of course, like the more we can replicate the natural habitat, the better. So down the road, I would love to get more currents directed to the Purple Brush Gorgonian up front. Now, I personally like Gorgonian because if you have seen Finding Nemo and you've seen the behind-the-scene interview with the artist, they studied what makes a coral reef look the way it is. They identified 3 different shapes. There's round stuff, flat stuff, and tall stuff. So I'm using the same logic to kind of like add the varieties to my tank. And of course, SPS would be the great way to add tall stuff to the tank. But it is a little bit too delicate for my taste, at least for now. So I'm trying to find different ways to add tall stuff. And the Gorgonian, it just seems to fit the bill. There are not too many corals besides SPS to kind of have this kind of form factor, whereas branch is a branch and grows upwards to create that vertical shape. So I've always had Gorgonian as a part of my tank. And they grow quickly if the environment is right, and they're pretty easy to frag. If you look, let me see if I can zoom in. When I frag Gorgonian, usually I just kind of take it off at, let me see if I can put my finger in there. Like for example, if I want to frag this, I'll cut it off right there. Or if I want a bigger frag, I might cut it off right there. And once you cut it off, you can either stick it in a little hole on the live rock, or like you can glue it down. In the past, I have read about people shaving the skin off the bottom of the stock, so the skin does not erode and rots away, leaving the frag like free floating once the skin is gone. But I have had good luck just kind of sticking it in a hole or gluing it down into like a little hole as well, and I had no issue with the skin rotting away, leaving a big gap, and then the frag floating away. But that's just me. You may want to do some testing or do some more research. But yeah, I've had good luck with just cutting it off and just shoving it into a hole, and they'll just kind of attach, similar to what you're seeing here on the reef plug, and just take off. So this is just a really quick overview of the Purple Brush Gorgonian, and the care for Gorgonian in terms of the photosynthetic ones are pretty similar. And especially for the Purple Brush, it is really forgiving. So I would highly recommend adding one of these guys to your reef tank if you want some vertical formations that is not as delicate as SPS. And if you have enough current, it will even give you a nice little wave action. Alright, well, with that said, I am going to head off, so talk to you guys next time.